Hi guys, Andy at 3 Pillars of Fitness, and today I'm going to take you through a trigger point Pilates sequence that lasts between 25 and 30 minutes. It will have some great movements and exercises in to support your posture and your overall well-being. Join me. So, as we often do, we begin by working on the foam roller. So I'm going to drop my shoulders down onto the roller and make sure that the roller is supporting the entire spine. As I do this, I'm going to turn my arms outwards and turn my palms up to the ceiling, and I'm going to bring my awareness to my breathing. As I do that, you'll see that I'm focusing on my chest rising as I inhale and falling as I exhale. And the beauty of doing this is that my spine is fully supported, my core muscles are working because of the cylindrical shape of the roller, and I am supporting the length of my spine, dropping my shoulders back out to the sides, and that's really helpful for anybody that spends time sat at a desk or is perhaps a driver, and anyone that struggles with general tension throughout the body. From here, I'm going to take my arms up and cross them over my chest. As I do this, the fascia and the muscles across my chest are shortening, and across my upper back they're lengthening. I'm then going to bring my arms out to the sides and down to the ground. I feel that stretch through my chest, and then I'm going to cross again. Breathing in as the arms move one way and out as they move the other. Now, if you don't have a foam roller at home, you could of course roll a long bath towel and use that to support your spine, or indeed you could do these exercises flat on your back. So I've opened my arms out to the side. I'm now going to stretch back and down towards the ground above my left shoulder, followed by my right. As we work with the shoulders, we always do that carefully and slowly. And the key here is to keep your elbow nice and straight and your wrist neutral, feeling the stretch through the chest and through the shoulder itself. Again, notice that I'm syncing my breathing. Moving on from here, I'm going to take both hands onto my tummy. I'm going to draw up over the top of the body, and then I'm going to sweep out to the sides. And I'm really now starting to train and move the body through that full range of motion in the shoulders. Remember, shoulders, joints at large are healthy if they are mobile. And when we are working with these joints, we always consider what movements they naturally perform for us. Just working with these few exercises that I've done so far you will see a marked improvement in posture over time. When we work with fascia, it's really important to make sure that we hydrate between these sessions and that we allow ourselves time to recover. Most of the benefits within these sessions will last around 72 hours. The next exercise I'm going to do is a pelvic roll. This is a great exercise for lower back pain. I'm going to widen my feet just very slightly to give me more balance, and I'm going to curl my pelvis back towards my head. I find it really useful to put fingertips onto hip bones when I'm doing this, breathing out and curling. Moving on from here, I'm going to go to toe tapping. So this is a great exercise to get the hips moving through a range, tapping through the toes as I return. And throughout these sessions, please go back, revisit your deep breathing. The ultimate aim is to inhale for between 7 and 8 seconds and to exhale for the same. And as we do that, we start to work the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, and all of the core muscles around the spine, supporting the spine. And we also down-regulate the neuromuscular pathways, and we begin to relax in that process. The simple active breathing can help us to marginally lower our blood pressure, and that will reduce the stress on our vascular system at large. The next thing I'm going to do is come off the roller carefully and gently. I'm going to roll down to one side. And I'm going to move on to working with prickle balls next. So working with the prickly balls is a great way to get some self-myofascial release, and the place I'm going to start with these is in the fleshiest part of my glute muscles. So I bridge up, placing the balls into the glutes. I bring my focus to my breathing, and then I'm going to move my pelvis around, carefully looking for those sore spots. Now, as I guide you through these sessions, this class, I'm going to give you the exercises which pack the biggest benefits, and indeed I will instruct you where to put the balls, but if you're not feeling the benefit of the compression, then do move the balls just very slightly and have another go. For me, this is working really quite nicely, and I'm going to imagine my body relaxing and melting over the balls to encourage that nice deep compression. So essentially what we're doing is we're learning to apply our own massage. Remember, self-myofascial release is actually happening when we move on to the next area of the body, and we send new hydration, new nutrients to these old trigger points, these tense parts of fascia. So if we find trigger points, if we find those sore spots, we compress them and then we release them by moving on to the next area of the body. If you want to make this a bit more difficult or a bit more intense and deeper massage, the thing to do is bring your feet and knees together and gently roll down to one side. Does mean that you'll come off the ball on one side, that's quite okay. And then we can go down to the other side. If from here you turn your palms up to the ceiling, you may well feel that stretch through your chest and through your shoulders as well. And I'm going to move the balls up very slightly because this is a spot that I know is quite sore for me. So I've just moved the balls up very slightly on my glutes. Moving up again and going to the back of the pelvis. If you think about fascia as a net which starts on the tips of your fingers and goes to the tips of your toes, then this area of fascia is often the connection between the bottom half of the body and the top half, and this area will often contain trigger points and sore spots. Again, I can bring my knees together, come down to one side. Notice that I'm keeping my hips and my knees and my feet stacked one on top of the other. So the next area I'm going to put the balls in is around about bra strap height, and this one tends to be quite sore, quite tense. You'll notice that I'm supporting my head with a rolled towel. That's just to bring neutral alignment to my chin and take the pressure off my neck and shoulders. So at bra strap height, I'm going to cross my arms over my chest and I'm gently going to rock from side to side. This is a really lovely exercise for that part of the body that we really can't reach, and that's the beauty of having these prickly balls. We might choose to go through this session twice over, in fact, to give yourself a 45-50 minute trigger point Pilates session. Remember, we're working on posture. So with this one, I've got my shoulders elevated, my thoracic spine elevated, so I might then experience or experiment with some movements out to the side. I can pretend that I'm conducting an orchestra and just see how that feels for my fascia and soft tissue. Moving on from here, I'm going to come up into the middle height of the scapula. Both the balls are going to touch next, and this again is one of those areas where the rhomboids are often chronically tight. The rhomboids are two muscles that sit under the shoulder blades, and they aid the protraction and retraction of your shoulders. So you can imagine that if you spend time out in this plane typing at work, if you're driving a car perhaps, or if you're even reading a book, any movement with or any position that's prolonged with our arms out in front of us is going to be a great exercise to work on. here, really useful for me to stretch back with my arms. Again, syncing my breathing as I work. And I'm now going to use my body to allow the balls to travel just very fractionally up and down the balls. So the balls are moving very slightly, and I'm creating this massage up and down the inner edge of my scapula. And indeed, I'm just going to move my body down very slightly and create that movement again. So we've worked underneath the shoulder blades, we've worked middle height. The next area I'm going to come into is this space just above the crease of my armpit. And this is a great juncture of fascia, both front and back, and will be really helpful for us to reset our posture and open up into that more relaxed position. So here I'm going to shrug my shoulders up to my ears. I'm going to do that by placing my hands onto my hips. I'm going to pull up and down. Moving on from here, I'm going to take the two prickly balls into my trapezius muscles. Trapezius muscles are just here, here and here. Again, these muscles, this fascia, will be tight and laden with trigger points. If you are somebody that carries a lot of stress, one of our immediate responses with stress is to draw the shoulders up towards the ears. These muscles, this fascia, allow for this shrugging movement. So that's the movement I'm going to create today. Now I'm going to take the towel away for a moment, and I'm going to come into the two recesses in the lower portion of the skull. Holding the balls into place, I'm going to look from side to side. Lift the chin very slightly to look back behind me, and look down to the knees as well. So any variation on that movement. I'm releasing tension in the suboccipitals. These are guy wires which support and allow us to hold our head above the spine and allow us to look straight ahead. The tension that is carried here can quite often cause headaches. So any variation on that movement now at all. And then lastly, for the back of my head, before I come over and work on the anterior, the front of the body, I'm going to come up right into the top of the head. And if you were being viewed from above, you might look a bit like Minnie or Mickey Mouse with this one. Actually feels really nice. Rather intense for those of us that are follically challenged. But I'm sure the ladies suffer as well, potentially if they've got long hair. These do get tangled sometimes, so move quite gently and forgivingly. So those are all of the exercises that I want to work on the back of my body. I'm now going to come over onto my front and do a couple of bits on the front, the anterior part of the body. So I'm going to begin by working on my quadricep muscles. I'm going to place just the one prickly ball into that muscle, front upper thigh, round about halfway between the knee and the hip bone. I'm going to flex at the knee and I'm going to relax my head onto the mat, supporting with my hands, looking straight down so that I don't create tension in my neck. These muscles in the front upper thigh are used for stepping, for walking, and they often contain an awful lot of fascia and tension in fascia indeed. Coming up now, just a slight variation. I put flexion into the knee and then roll out slightly to the side. Fascia is one of the most three-dimensional organisms in the body. It's a really good idea to work and move in different planes to challenge and get that fascia to relax, to be compressed in different ways. I'm going to come over and do the same thing on the other side. Flexing at the knee, supporting the head. Moving on from here, I'm going to take the prickly ball into the latissimus dorsi, back of the armpit. I'm going to do that by laying on my side, placing that prickly ball into the rear section of the armpit. I like to stretch my arm out above my head and rest my ear on my shoulder. Notice again that I've stacked my feet, I've stacked my knees and my hips one on top of the other, and I'm going to take the spare ball out in front of me and I'm going to roll backwards and forwards over the fascia in the back of the armpit. It's a great fascial reset for tension carried in both front and back of the body. If you are new to this modality of Pilates, then you may not want to do this one initially. This does tend to be quite intense and quite sore. Let's pop over and do the same thing on the other side. Here you'll notice the positioning of the ball. So you might just be able to see that in the back of my armpit. Taking this one out in front of me, hips and knees and feet stacked, and I'm rolling backwards and forwards. Allowing my fascia to relax over the ball, melting over the ball. And I could then, if I want to, bring this arm up, stretching through the cervical spine and the chest, rolling back and returning. Rolling back and returning. So that's our Trigger Point Pilates session finished for today. If you have any questions or any struggles when you're working with your fascia at home, please do pick up the phone, send me a text, or just reach out and ask for some more information by commenting in the video, or you will have my mobile telephone number. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. So that's the end of our Trigger Point Pilates session for today. If you have any questions or any concerns as you're working with fascia, then please do reach out, send me a text, send me an email, anything that I can do to help you, I certainly will do that. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you for joining me.